Folks, I'm going to levy with you. I'm going to be straight. We're tired. It's been a rough week. We're recording this the week of daylight savings, and it just took us by surprise this year, like it's never happened before. And my schedule switched to my early mornings again on Monday, so it was a double whammy that happens every few years or so, and it's really beating the shit out of us. But that's all right. We trek on because...
Plus the kids are out of school.
And the kids are on spring break and out of school, which is more work around the house for, well, especially Candy. I got some things. I work outside. She works inside. That's how we set it up in our lifestyle because we're traditional.
Shut up. Who's going to be doing the garden? Me.
Anywho.
That's outdoors, so you can take care of it.
But since we have a dedicated audience, we are going to go through and provide more content for you people. Don't know what this is going to be. It could get wild. It could get out of pocket. I don't know. But the long and the short of it is my mind's been fried for a while. Maybe I'm in a little creative block. I don't know. We're working through it. We're getting there. So ideas have not been streaming to me as much as they usually do. But they will here again because I get my long hours of mowing and...
Oh, I got a book.
Of course you do.
Are you feeling stuck? We can work through that.
Well, I get my alone times at work now, coming up with mowing and all that. So I'll have time to have free thoughts.
That's true.
Have to, I can be by myself. Let me just bask in that glory for a moment. Wonderful.
Wow, I think I should leave.
No, you're not a drain. So with that going on, we're going to go and start with a topic today about confirmation bias and how it works in the mind. Why that? Why do we all, and not just certain people that wear red hats, but all of us, lean towards a confirmation bias? There's psychological reasons behind it. Your brain wants you to do that. We'll dive into that. Maybe we'll get into book talk and time management and seeing if everyone else has the same issues that we do, that we don't get to do the stuff we'd like to do in our free time because we can't find any free time at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? I wish there was 26 hours in a day because that would be nice. But no. That's just life. And it's the life we're in right now, and we'll make it work. Mm-hmm. But we'll see what we come up with today on Drop the Stone.
Hi, I'm Candy.
And I'm Dan.
And you're listening to Drop the Stones,
a weekly podcast brought to you by Charmin. We're going to need Charmin here soon because with this administration, that diarrhea that's spewing out of their mouths is going to be contagious.
Hey, I just noticed something. Sorry, my mute wasn't on.
That's all right.
The sound's okay?
If they made it through this far, it'll be all right. It should be fine.
You might lose people because of the sound.
No, we'll check it and see. It should be fine. I think it's just in our headphones that we're on.
Oh, that'd be nice if we knew, because then we wouldn't have to do that.
I'll let you know when I edit this.
Just stop and edit it real quick.
So, anyways.
I want to know now. Okay, I know that's ridiculous to ask.
Patience is a virtue, my friend. Patience is a virtue.
I muted it now, so.
So how you doing there, Ken? After this week of losing you having to drive me to work early every morning, sending me on my way.
It gets me going earlier. We've been having. I have been waking.
That, folks, I get her going earlier now. Ting.
You have to do your own sound effects. Ting.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. I'm getting up earlier, which I've been waking up before you. I've been waking up at like 4 a lot of times and just laying there. And then
Oh.
sometimes I'll get on my phone.
You're acting like a 70-year-old.
Yeah, I don't like that. But
Before you know it, we'll be eating dinner at 3:45, in bed by 6.
no. Because I'm still going to bed at the same. Well, we've been going to bed a little bit earlier, which is helpful.
Yeah.
But I still don't fall asleep that early. I read.
Yeah,
So,
we know. We know you read.
You have a little eye mask to cover your eyes at
I
night.
know.
Dan sleeps with a little eye mask
Says
now.
princess across.
It helps him so I can read and he doesn't have to be disturbed. He can be sleeping.
Yes.
I can sleep any which way. I didn't used to sleep well at all until deconstruction, actually. It was within deconstruction that I started to sleep really good. I used to wake up in the middle of the night and panic about all sorts of things.
Yeah. All the worries of the world that were falling
mostly
upon
about the children.
Yeah.
Thinking I was screwing them up or...
What about the children?
How am I going to... Okay. Anyways. So, how are you?
Oh, great. It's been a wonderful week so far. And it's only halfway through. We're getting there.
We are.
Because this week's always rough for us, so it's all right. We just know it's coming and deal with it as it goes. But let's talk about something that we suffered from greatly. We start there and still have every now and then. And if we were to probably stop and think and try to recognize, we could see that we're still doing it. And that's this idea of confirmation bias. This idea that our minds are programmed with the instinctual flights.
Fight, flight.
Fight, flight, response. Flight, right, response. Fight, flight, response that we're going to sort out any information that comes in. And anything that doesn't agree with our preconceived notions, our preconceived beliefs, ideas, is going to seem like an enemy attacking us. And we're automatically going to put up defenses and discount and neglect that information. Is the basis of this confirmation bias. And I think if you look at all the red hat wearers, you can see that clearly. You know, Fox News is the only thing we listen to. Everything else is fake news. Whatever comes out of the mouth of 47 is gospel. You know, I would give all my money to Elon and let him balance the budget with it.
Yes, we have seen that.
So
I will give people claiming their love and affection so much that they would give them all their money to budget because he's so good at it.
Yeah.
Let's call him Ellen from now on.
Meanwhile, his
we got to code their names. Ellen and 47.
His businesses are failing. And
he does look, I saw him on something and he did look tired and stressed. I will say that.
I saw a new nickname for 47. Shitler.
No. No. Mm-mm.
No, you don't
Stop
like
it.
that?
No.
All right, fine. Be like that.
That's shaming him. That's kind of ageist a little bit, you know, because a lot of old people struggle with that kind of stuff. Let's be nice, Daniel.
But if anyone deserved it.
I know. I don't like getting in that kind of stuff. I feel like that. I know it's funny and I can laugh, but
you want to make comedy
I feel like
legal again?
Huh?
You want to make comedy
legal? Yeah. What does he do? Comedy. I don't know what he does. Oh God. Don't put that clip on TikTok.
Oh, it's gonna be.
No, please don't.
It's just
Seriously,
gonna be that. It's just gonna be that 2 seconds. That's
Hashtag
it.
Elon Musk. Don't even. Do not even. Please do not put that on there.
Give me ideas.
Dan, please.
Eyebrows. So, but no, this confirmation bias. I mean, there's a clear example that most of us and the people that are listening to this can see with the red hat people, where they don't accept anything outside of their beliefs to enter in. They don't let it rattle around. They don't think on it. And we still have that. I mean, you have that tinge. Same with me.
Yes. Confirmation bias is not, it's not one and the same with fight flight. You can have confirmation bias and not have fight flight kick on. Fight flight kicks on. Confirmation bias is your brain seeking out reinforcement of what it already believes. Mm-hmm. So it's you have a belief and it will try to back it up. Okay. Because there's lots of beliefs, right? we'll never know some things if they're true or not, but those beliefs get backed up by our mind. And it's a cool thing. It kind of helps with manifestation and that stuff kind of stuff. But that belief, when it's triggered by an opposing view, that especially one that sounds convincing, that's when fight flight gets turned on, because now all of a sudden I don't know, and our subconscious doesn't like the unknown. Instead, it goes into fight flight. It doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have a program for it yet.
No.
Until it knows it.
And so it wants to fight against it or leave against it and get away from it because it's perceived as dangerous.
Yeah, because it's like think of it like a virus getting into your computer.
Mm.
You have all these programs. If a virus comes in, it's something it doesn't know, it can either cause it to freeze up, like shut down, or it can start trying to push information where it doesn't belong. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things that can happen with a virus. And it's the same thing. That's what it is.
Yeah. So we all have this. I still see it in my own life when I'm scrolling through and then I see, for some reason I'm getting some stuff that's very right-wing oriented on my... See, I had my algorithm set up to where TikTok was more left, Twitter was more right. Instagram, I really don't get on a whole lot anymore. But I could see both on there and I knew what it was. But now my TikTok's starting to get some right-wing stuff filtered in.
And how is that? Because that's an algorithm based on what you're looking at. But it might be because you go and you seek out these preachers and you seek out kind of like what these people are saying. It's not because you're becoming more right-leaning. But actually, that might not be true. I wonder, we know TikTok is not the same.
No.
I'm wondering if they're pushing more of that shit.
They could be. They could be.
Start hashtagging Trump start hashtagging Trump 2028.
I don't like negative comments in my post, and I've had that here recently.
I'm saying just do that so you'll get get boosted. I bet you the hashtags would boost you. I'm not saying like I don't think you'll go into Trump 2028. You might, but it'll boost, because I think the new algorithm is set up. I think I heard that, where they're pushing more of that stuff out there on purpose so that more people are hearing it.
It could be.
Oh, why wouldn't it be? Censor social media. Do that. That's how you can censor it. Use comb for your words. So that's why you got to talk in code. Mm-hmm. Be careful. Are you talking in code or are you saying his name?
Yeah, I'm saying the duck flies at midnight.
You got to be really, no, seriously, you got to be careful or you're going to get suppressed.
Suppressed.
Yeah, your voice is getting suppressed.
I don't think I could get any more suppressed.
I know, but I think you are, because you're not paying attention to what you're saying. You have to talk in code. And the words, when they get captioned, when you do your captions, it will take the word. So if you said Trump, it will go in there. I bet your podcast probably gets suppressed because we're saying his name. So we need to stop saying anything that's in reference to. So
far, you've said it a dozen times.
I have. I know.
And I have zero. You're the one suppressing us. You're suppressor. You're my suppressor.
I could be oppressor.
Yeah, you're just suppressor. You're a super oppressor, suppressor. But yeah, so I see stuff from the other side and it triggers something inside me when I see it, where I immediately like, nope, that's false, that's wrong. And luckily I've come far enough in my life where I can get past that initial hurdle and then kind of think through and look at what's being said and be like, well, no, that's fake there. I've heard contradictory evidence is claimed on this too, and and kind of process through the whole thing. But there's a lot of people that won't. We know a lot of people. We were in the faith. There was definitely a confirmation bias in the faith when we were in it. Anything that was anti-Christian, anti-Jesus talk was nope. You're the devil. And we've talked about that before. When someone said a swear word, we automatically shut them off because, well, they're not a Christian, so now they're not a valid source. We've had preachers tell us, don't listen to this preacher on the radio anymore because this one topic that he talked about doesn't agree 100% with what we're saying. Oh, yeah,
we've had that told to
so
us.
All his teachings are bad.
Or I've had a homeschool book given to me before, and it was like a workbook, and it was this person believed in the gap theory, which is the theory that there was a planet and then it got destroyed and there was a huge gap in time, and then remade the planet, and the dinosaurs were on that planet that got destroyed, but they're inside of this planet. So that's how they were trying to explain the dinosaurs being buried. Have you heard of that theory?
I've heard of it.
It's very weird, but they were trying to hold these two ideas, and so they had to come up with ridiculous stuff. They're cognitive dissonance a little bit.
Yeah.
But which is that's fight flight. That triggers fight flight too.
Mm-hmm.
But why did I start to say that? What were you talking about?
You were talking about the book that you were given.
Oh, yeah. And at the beginning, he starts talking about that, and the person who gave me the book as a gift to teach my children said, do not teach this section. This is not true. So they were telling me what to believe. And that was probably one of my earliest times when I was like, I've always been like, don't tell me what to do.
Really?
Yeah, that's just kind of my personality. It's a little bit like that.
Never noticed this.
I've been a very good kid. Like I was a very good kid growing up. Like I obeyed authority, but I would have my questions and I would just keep them to myself, and I would use them when I needed to, but most of the time I just kept them because it got me in big trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they told me not to, I was like, what's this theory? So I started to like look into it a little bit, and then fast forward though, and they were teaching it in a geography class in one of my kids' co-op homeschool classes. And I had to pull him from that class because I asked the teacher, why are you teaching gap theory in geography? Like, this is not necessary. You don't need to be teaching about the beginning of the planet, honestly. In this, just jump to, land and stuff. I don't know why you're teaching the creation of the world in a geography. I don't think that should be in a geography class, should it?
It could be a chapter on Pangea and all that.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna talk about the land masses, but they're talking about the creation of the land masses.
Yeah, it's
not the creation of the world is a myth. Like nobody knows. Nobody knows that. That's something like a biologist might explore because they're wondering where at the beginning of life. I think that's more of a biology subject, don't you think?
It's biology and physics
but not geography.
Generally not, no.
Well, it wasn't necessary, and maybe it is, but I didn't feel it was necessary, so I had to be a loudmouth, and I said, I'm pulling him out of there because there's no reason for you to teach the gap theory to kids.
Yeah.
It's confusing, it's stupid, and I probably was believing in I probably was very against the gap theory at this time.
Yeah.
Was I? No, actually, I think I was starting to deconstruct, actually. Yeah. And I was like, stop teaching this because you don't need to be teaching religion in geography.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more what it was. It was like, even though you do talk about religion in geography, that can be a part of geography too, I guess, because there's religions in different geographical locations, but you're not going to delve into the theories in the religion.
No, and then you'd want to study all the religions in it.
Yeah. Yeah. You would have to go through all the ideas then of the beginning of the world. If you want to do that, yeah, great. That's true.
Part of geography is the cultures.
Yes.
And all that.
So anyways, but that was a huge tangent. But yes, the cognitive or the confirmation bias, you are looking for, it's kind of like creationists when they're studying first the young earth.
When you go out and you have a theory in your head or a belief in your head and you meet someone that confirms that because they believe identically to you or similar, you get that release of
dopamine,
which is a natural high. So you feel good.
You feel It's connection. Yeah. It's like a chemistry kind of thing.
It's a connection. Yeah. It's I'm right. Yeah. That's right. So I'm smart.
It's reinforced. Yeah.
In that kind of feeling of you start feeling better.
Because you're seeking that connection with others. Yeah. So, I mean, that is what we are wired. We're wired for connection. So yes, we're going to seek out those who agree with us.
So it's a natural thing to have this. But the key is, I think, honestly, to kind of break this would be critical thinking, which is something that's highly dissuaded.
Well, I don't know that you can go ahead and finish your sentence. I kind of interrupted
I think critical thinking is highly dissuaded by the people that operate in confirmation bias.
Well, and here's the thing. You cannot ever get rid of confirmation bias. It's a necessary thing. You need to have it.
Yeah.
What you can do is be aware that you have it.
Yeah.
That's huge. But you need critical thinking skills to understand that. When you're hearing somebody, understand that you have confirmation bias.
Yeah.
And so you're going to listen through a certain lens, or not lens, a certain, thinking of a sound word, funnel? I don't know. Certain speaker?
Sure.
But there's a certain filter that you have. That's your confirmation, your beliefs. Everything will go through that. That's something I even said to my dad the other day when I was over there. I said, because we were just not communicating well. And I said,
Really?
I said, I think everything that I say to you, I think goes through a filter. I don't know what the filter is, but it's going through a filter. And I think it's been like that all our lives as kids, because he was talking about how some other people don't understand him and don't hear him. And I said, I think.
You don't hear him?
Yes. He always thinks people don't hear him.
Yeah. And but he doesn't before.
Listen. He doesn't know how to listen. So his idea of listening is different, I guess.
Yeah. His idea, well, it's not really listening. He's listening to respond and rebuke.
Yes, he is listening to respond for sure.
So he's not really listening. He's not trying to take in the information and process it.
He's not trying to learn.
No, definitely not. And that's a big part of this confirmation bias too thing is if someone's willing to learn, they're willing to get rid of the confirmation or work on not get rid of, but kind of work through the confirmation bias. When they're open to understand that I don't have all the answers. I'm not right. I feel like I'm right here, but I'm willing to learn and I can be persuaded if you give me enough factual information.
Yes, that's how we should listen. Like, you could persuade me, just you've got to convince me somehow.
Your dad, your dad and some other people we know are very much in the confirmation bias mindset where when someone's not agreeing with them, one, they're not listening because they're not agreeing. And if you were listening, you would automatically agree because I'm 100% right. And
that's definitely something that's said.
This is biblical truth.
Or you're not hearing me when I'll be like, I just said back to you exactly what you said to me. How am I not hearing you? I don't understand what you're saying.
You should be.
Until you agree, they do not think you're listening.
I'm not agreeing with you. I'm hearing you. I'm just not agreeing with you.
Yes, that's what the response needs to be. Maybe.
And a lot of times with people like that, they just are so much in a bubble that every time they say something, people agree with them. And I think your dad's probably a prime example of that because people have always kind of, okay, yeah, we agree with you, either out of agreement or out of
just to get him to quiet down,
pacify the thing and be like, okay, that's good. And I've
done that before with him before. So, I don't know if I say I agree with you. I'll just say,
But they're listening to respond. So they're trying to pick out something.
They're looking for a way to attack you.
Yeah. Or they're looking for a fault or a hole in the argument. They're looking for holes.
They're looking for faults rather than looking for where are we in agreement here?
Yeah.
And then going like, okay, then where are we not in agreement? But using that to figure out how we can get into some sort of understanding.
Even looking at it as, I don't agree with what you're saying right now. But let me think about it and see why I'm not agreeing with it.
Yeah,
that would be a step.
That would be a step, but they don't follow your logic. I can follow a Christian's logic. I understand why a Christian thinks the way they do. I do get it. I understand they are reasonable for the beliefs that they have. Their beliefs are not sound. The beliefs are. There's a whole lot of cognitive dissonance. So that it's like Jesus saying, build your house on the rock and not on the sand.
Yeah.
Their house is very sand. It's built on a lot of sand. Nothing is real solid.
No.
So when troubles come, they get blown all over because they're used to a bubble. They're used to that protection, right? They're not used to kind of like the seedlings that I'm growing in the garden. We're having to turn a fan on them. Once they come up out of the ground, you turn a fan on so that they can learn how to be strong against that wind, right? I didn't know that, but that actually is really true about us. Even as we come into a belief, it shouldn't be very long before that belief starts getting challenged. It's got to have some pressure.
There's an interesting tangent we can go on too, because that analogy there is that this confirmation mindset keeps you in a small bubble, a small group, because you're going to hang around that group because they're going to confirm everything. And that's what you
That's
need.
a definite echo chamber.
And you can't, and anytime you step out of
Confirmation bias
that,
gets real strong too and comfortable.
and someone challenges your idea, whether it be political, religious, whatever, and it not lines in the opposite of what you believe, you get in that's the enemy talking. I can't. All right, so I need to fight or flight it, and get out.
It will just kick on, yeah.
So just by that analogy, it just shows that how weak their position ends up being over time, because they've never strengthened it. They've never challenged it. They've never worked it out to build up the muscle of defense against it, to build up a strength in their argument.
Yes, and you have to. Well, how we built it up as evangelicals is instead of going and talking to an atheist, let's say, to hear, having it challenged, wanting them to challenge my view so that I could have it strengthened by seeing if it could hold up, right? Because this is kind of how I test my spiritual beliefs now. I like to listen to opposing views to see if it can if it can break it, right? So far, the idea of oneness is really, so far it seems impenetrable, but it could be penetrated at some point. Anyways, so just like the fan on those little branches or on those little tiny, tiny seedlings that are so delicate, they get stronger, and you notice their stems start to get greener instead of transparent. Kind of, they're a little more transparent. They get stronger. But when you don't do that with your beliefs, it's almost like it just can't hold up, because we would listen to an atheist. We would listen to a Christian tell us what an atheist believes. Instead of actually going to the atheist, we were told to stay away from those kinds of people. Yeah. Why? Because our confirmation bias, we could start to actually listen for ways to see if our point of view could be disproven, because that's how it gets stronger. And instead, we thought of it as bad, sin. Those things are associated with sin. If you doubt even, that's a sin. So you can't ever question it without feeling guilt and shame. So you've got to be able to work through that guilt and shame, which takes a lot of courage to feel it and not give into it, to then go to the people you are not told to go to. You were told to stay away from. You have to go towards those things to see if that's how you test your faith.
Yeah. So if you want a strong ideology, a strong faith in something, belief, you need to be challenged in it, because it'll make it stronger. It's either going to change it or make it stronger. But when you prevent that from happening, like we did when we were Christians, like people do with political beliefs, and it's not just red hats. There's plenty of people on the other side that don't want to listen to anything.
Oh God, yeah.
From the other side, and
it's all over the place.
Yeah, I've made posts that had responses from the left. They're like, nope.
Yeah, it's not right or left. It doesn't depend on race. It doesn't depend on sex. It doesn't depend on gender. It doesn't just depend on any of that stuff. Like, confirmation bias is every single person struggles with it. It's a hard thing to actually notice that you are
so when you
influenced by.
When you don't challenge it, it's an extremely weak argument. And that's why we can sit back and watch the news and see reports. And when you hear people from this administration talking, you just shake your head and laugh and be like, that is so wrong. Or just a blatant lie, when you hear something saying, I never said that this was going to be this way. And then they're like, well, 1 month ago you said, this is the way it's going to be. It's like, you're contradicting yourself, and it's not even a month later. You're just flying by the seat of your pants. But people will buy into what that's being said at this time and be like, yeah, you never said that. And it's like, well, here's some proof. And they're like, no, fake news.
Well, and something just happened not too long ago with the whole political world, and people were like, I'm surprised that they are being so quiet about this. The red hats are being so quiet. Well, somebody else said they're just waiting until they're told how to look at it. And that is so true. We wait in Christianity. Tell us what to think about this pastor. Tell us how to view this big thing in the world. Tell us what to think. Tell us what to say. Tell us how to feel. And then the pastor has to do all that. because we expect it.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to have to do the hard work of feeling and thinking and.
No, yeah, and that's part of it
we're
too.
Lazy.
It's a lazy mind.
And we do have, and that's a natural thing too. It's natural to have a lazy mind.
Tell me what to believe. I mean, I still see myself like that. And I see something, maybe I see a preacher saying something. I'm like, oh, please, Dan McClellan, have something on this so I don't have to think this through myself.
Yeah, and that's true. We do need each other because that's true. And that I don't know that part's so bad because it helps us lean on one another. We all have strengths in different areas. I do not want to learn. Okay, let's take, for instance, like if the car breaks down. I could sit there and figure it out. I could do all the YouTube things. I have zero desire. I would have to start at the very beginning. I don't know how to change the oil. I see you do it, and I could figure it out. You tell me I couldn't figure it out. I could figure it out.
I've tried to teach you how.
I know, but I don't want to learn
everything works.
I don't want to learn it. I want you to do it.
I know, but I start talking about, what is it? Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. You're like glass-eyed.
What?
Internal combustion engines. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow.
That's what you call it?
That's the process.
I can figure out that's what the process. I've never heard anybody call it that.
You suck in the fuel-air mixture.
That's what the car does?
You squeeze it. This is what each cylinder does. You squeeze it so it's a more compact. Compressed, so then it has more power to it.
Yes, I can understand that.
Hit the spark to it and bang.
So that's with the gasoline?
Yeah, no, that's a spark plug. Gasoline's the compressed fuel-air mixture.
Okay, the gasoline is what's getting sucked in, right?
Gasoline and air.
Okay, gasoline and air sucked in. Then they're compressed, so it's put through a smaller space that the gas can build up?
So that you have more of a dynamic explosion. Okay. More power to it.
And maybe so the gas would build up, be kind of separate from the liquid? I don't know. No? No. Okay. And then start the car, is that the spark?
When you compress an explosive, it makes it more powerful.
Okay. I mean, that kind of makes sense. Okay, so the energy is really concentrated. Yeah. Okay. And then you're going to
squeeze it. That's the air getting compressed. And then the spark hits the squeeze.
Is that when you start the car?
That's when the car's running. It's constantly sparking.
All the time? Not just when you start it? I don't know anything about this stuff. Stop.
Yeah, it's hundreds of times per minute, thousands of times per minute it sparks. There's, in most 8-cylinder cars or 6 cylinders, there's 6 or 8 spark plugs firing and alternatively completely charged so that one's up, one's down.
It's like little guys in there going like this?
Little pistons, yeah. So the bang is the spark hitting it, exploding it out. And that's the blow. Blows out the exhaust. And
that's just the gas that goes out, right?
And as it's blowing out, it's sucking back in. So
when you compress it, do you take that liquid gasoline and turn it into gas?
Don't need to.
But it never comes out of the car.
It's pretty vaporized through the either carburetor in older model cars or fuel injectors.
Okay,
it's misted.
All right, we're going to lose our podcast because they're going to be like, this is boring. Now we are learning about stupid engine stuff.
Suck, squeeze, bang, blow.
Okay, is there a difference between an engine and a motor? I don't know if anybody else has ever wondered that, but I've wondered that. Or does it mean the same thing?
They're pretty similar. Motor could be an electronic motor or anything, but they're pretty interchangeable.
Thank you.
So, yes. Anywho. I don't even know where we were.
We were talking about learning something.
Oh, just being willing to learn. And I mean, it makes you stronger in the mind and makes your resolve stronger in what you believe in. And I think it's kind of a fear. Then that's why you have fake news being said all the time. That's why you have, don't listen to an atheist. They're just going to pull you down the slippery slope because the people that are telling you this understand that you have a weak belief. They know the belief is weak. They know it's on sandy ground. So if anything opposes it, that belief's going to be gone in a heartbeat, in a second, because there's nothing holding it up. It's not strong. It can't stand anything going against it.
Yeah.
So they have to protect you from that outside so that you don't leave their influence. And that's the whole thing on it, is they want you under their influence. They're more than happy to tell you what to believe. They're more than happy to guide you down the
Mhm.
path, because then you are a foot soldier for them and are a minion to them to help serve their overall purpose.
Yeah.
So when you hear 47 saying, that's fake news, don't believe that, these people go, okay, that's fake news. I won't listen to
Oh my
CNN
God, yeah.
anymore. I won't listen to MSNBC.
And
That's
they just
fake
say
news.
that's bad. Whereas once you understand you have confirmation bias, I can watch Fox News.
Yeah.
I can listen to it. And sometimes I will find little things that are true. You know, I'll find big things that aren't. But not everything they say isn't true.
Mhm.
But I will also see sometimes I like to hear the little clips because I want to hear how they're teaching people to think. And if we have to, as those of us who do understand all of this stuff about confirmation bias, and that we have to learn and we have to understand the perspective of others before we can actually make that connection, right?
Mhm.
We have got to understand why these red coats
Mhm.
think the way they do.
Yeah.
They think this way for a very it's reasonable for what they believe. It is. I mean, if you think Jesus is coming back in the clouds any minute because you don't understand where the book of Revelation is even saying, and I'll tell you one thing, there has to be a temple and there's not one for the Jewish
Yeah.
faith. But let's just say you believe that. You want to force people to believe like you because it will save them.
Yeah.
Do most of the MAGA people think this way?
They don't. They think they're looking out for their own best interest.
I
So
know
they
that's
think.
what a lot of
So
people say, but I don't know if that's true. Is that, or do they have a different way of looking at this?
it's their own best interest that they think is going to be everyone's best interest. That's a white, hetero American.
I don't know that they think that. Do they really believe that? That's
What?
hard for me to believe that they really think a world where it's mostly white and white rules is better. That's really hard for me to understand. I don't think that Christians really think that, do they?
Christians. Now you're talking about something different here with MAGA and Christians. On the Christian side of it, at least they say,
Because they're
excuse
one
me,
and the same, aren't they?
they can be, but from the Christian perspective, they're going to say, no, we love all people of all colors and
Mhm.
sizes. But what does it really mean is that God loves them because they need to be part of his service and part of his payroll to bring people into that they
I don't think that. I mean, I didn't think
But
like that
I
as a
think
Christian. I
from a
don't think people think that way.
from a MAGA perspective, and the ones that I know, they think this is the best path for the country to move forward for where they're at currently, because they don't understand the plight of the minority. They don't understand the plight of
Because
the
they don't
immigrant.
ever go
They don't
become,
understand the plight of the LGBTQ.
because they aren't around them.
Yeah, they don't.
If they
look,
can stay away from them, they
Yeah.
don't have to. They don't have to, and that's why they want to keep us divided, so we don't get to know one another.
So their whole perspective is that of this privileged group. So when they're acting on this and saying this is what's best, it's what's best for this privileged group. Let's make America great again. Well, when was it great? It was great when this privileged group
Ruled over others.
had everything given to them. They had segregation in schools.
They
You
didn't have to be
couldn't-
near anybody that
you know,
they
there
didn't
were
like.
laws against homosexuality in the country. Now it was punishable by fines and jail time. You know, I mean, that is what they're going back to because that's what they know.
There's no way the country's going to go back, though.
No, it's not.
It's not.
You can't stop it.
This is going to be it might look ugly for a little bit, but there's no way we're going back.
Yeah, but
we know this exists now.
But that's where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Is that they don't understand. They haven't looked outside their circles or their groups, so they don't understand what all these other people have gone through. So they truly think that the best is Let's get rid of all the immigrants. And we're seeing that in Nebraska right now. You just got rid of all you red hat farmers out in the western part of the state, just got rid of, like, I can't remember what they said, 80% of their workforce because they were voted for 47. And the immigrants that were here legally, illegally, didn't matter because what's going to happen is they understand how these red hats work. And it's not, oh, this one's good. That one, I don't know. So it's all, you're all brown. So you all need to be checked. So we're going to call ICE on all of you. Even though you've worked for me for 10 years and have had paperwork with me, we still need to make sure that's legit. So instead of staying here and dealing with that scrutiny, all of them left, legal and illegal, and went to a safer state, Colorado, California, whatever. And now these people are like, what are we going to do? How are we going to take care of our ranches? How are we going to take care of our farms? Who's going to work in the processing plants now to get the stuff out? So we may have cattle to sell, but there's no one to render that cattle down into steaks and hamburger.
So things are about to get really expensive for us.
It could be, yeah. Luckily, we have friends and connections personally, so we don't have to worry as much. But stuff's going to get bad here, price-wise, because we eliminated all this workforce. And it was something, I knew that because we have friends that are farmers. We've had friends that worked in processing plants. We knew who worked there and what worked there. And when I saw this immigration stuff coming down, I was like, that's not good. If we start deporting all these people, we're getting rid of all of our workforce. And Florida was a prime example a couple of years ago when they said.
So these people aren't necessarily here illegally, but they are immigrants.
Yeah, there was a vast majority of them are here legally on a work visa or something.
So why are they running?
Because they could work, since they weren't a legal citizen, farmers didn't have to pay them. And a little secret here for all you folks that live in cities and whatnot, farmers get so many different exemptions that they don't have to follow the federal rules of the land. And I'm not talking about subsidies or anything like this.
I don't even know what a subsidy is. I just know they get
farmers can hire children to work in their fields for pennies on the dollar.
What?
We've had nephews and nieces work in cornfields, detasseling for,
and you can go as young as 13.
Yeah, 12, 13s when you can start working in there. They're exempt from these laws. So they could pay legal working immigrants a substandard wage.
Yeah, because these kids.
Because got exempt. Farmers don't have to get CDLs to operate their trucks because they're farm exempt equipment.
Oh, okay.
So a guy I know just got a CDL for his grandpa's farm truck. And when you go in to do a CDL test, you have to go through and do an inspection of the whole truck. This truck was leaking from all over the place. Stuff wasn't working. Lights were broken. If I would have gone in for my CDL test with that truck and since I wasn't doing it for farm work, I would not have been allowed to take the test. He took his truck in since it was farm exempt. That's fine. You can run this truck. So they can have vehicles that aren't safe on the road that everyone else has to obey by, because there's so many exemptions and rules that they can get by.
And then they don't pay people.
Yeah.
And they make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they get government money.
Yeah. So
that's a problem. I mean, I know they provide our food.
And
they should be paid well for providing food.
There's been some shady stuff with the government before. You heard the stories about we're really going off topic now, but that's fine. There was the old dairy industry that was going through. Remember back in the 90s, all the got milk?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do the milk mustache promo. And everyone in the grocery store had
pushing milk pretty good.
Paint a little white thing on there. It looked very inappropriate.
You played that today. So people will be like, what? Gen Z? Can you imagine?
What is that?
They'd never stop talking about it.
But there's a reason for that. The dairy producers started producing so much milk that they had
surplus.
Vast surplus.
And why were they producing so much? Why were they not gauging?
Because
they wanted to get richer?
Yeah, it was the greed of the...
So they basically worked these cows, overworked them.
If I can make $100, making this much milk, well, what if I just got twice as many cows? Or maybe I got half as many, instead of 50 cows, I got 75, and I bumped up some, progesterone or whatever in there, so now they're producing more milk.
And we milk them more often.
Because
anybody who's ever nursed a baby knows if you nurse, the more often you nurse, the more milk you're going to make.
So I'm going to get $200 now. Well, that's not enough. Let me get, and then they started producing all this stuff.
I want to buy a boat, so let's mix a little bit more,
So the government came in to subsidize this, and then the dairy board came in. They were pushing milk, drink milk.
Because you had your lobbyists in Washington
and
getting them to promote this. Yeah.
Apparently, the rumor is somewhere in Missouri, there's giant caves full of cheese that the government just bought.
Just to pay out that farmer, bail him out.
Bail him out.
He must have had some strong connections, yeah.
Well, no, it was the dairy board that kind of worked this. This is lobbyists in there. And this is what happens. So, and some of it gets used. So USAID was a huge thing for the farmers.
So there's probably lots of extra food around that's not being...
farmers produce so much, let's say, corn or wheat that we couldn't eat it all. And they couldn't sell it across. And even now, tariffs, China's put tariffs because...
Did they?
China was one of the biggest buyers of soybeans in the Midwest. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Now there's 15% tariff, and Chinese are like, yeah, whatever. We're not paying that. So these guys are going to be eating a lot of soybeans because we put a tariff on it.
So soybeans are going to be pushed at us. Okay.
So
we can almost pick what foods they're going to start pushing at us.
What USAA did was come in and said, okay, you got this surplus. We'll buy a bunch of this to you, and now we'll use it as humanitarian needs. So we're going to ship it off to this country that, maybe they had an earthquake or they're in a war.
And then we can say that we're donating so much, but it was just our extras and we didn't know what to do with it anyway. So we're giving it to...
So the government bought it off of them and then started using it as humanitarian aid.
Okay. I mean, at least it's going to a good service.
Some other things that would come from some of the programs that got cut is corn and soybeans were used in ethanol treatment.
Yeah, because we get sometimes that gas that has less ethanol.
So any gas you buy that has 10% ethanol or the E85 gas, which is all ethanol.
Yeah.
That's because
is that bad for the environment?
The government subsidized some of this corn to go into research to figure out where universities like University of Iowa, University of Nebraska figured out we can take this, turn it into an alcohol, which is a fuel source. And now we can run cars on this. So now we have a biofuel that we can grow instead of pumping oil out. We can start using this to supplement some of this. So,
but is it bad for the environment? Did you hear about the guy who created the water thing that could like a car could run on, but he ended up dead?
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, I know.
I know people that work that are engineers for companies that already have been working on it.
Is it going to get shut down? Because those guys don't want it. That's for sure. Your oil companies would go broke.
That works for a giant manufacturing company that uses large equipment is betting that hydrogen fuel, which is what water would be, will outduel battery fueled cars here in the near future.
He thinks the government's not going to suppress it.
He thinks cars will go more battery because it's smaller. And the batteries for larger equipment would be so big, it'd be twice the size of the equipment. That would just be the battery. But hydrogen is going to power that.
So it's more going to be for big equipment first?
So water-based cars.
That's a ways away?
It's already here. They're just not in production yet.
Okay, but why? Why are they not in production? That could stop a lot of global warming. Or the climate change stuff, couldn't it?
This is where lobbyists get involved. One of the biggest lobbying groups is the oil industry.
Yeah, I know. So it's like how...
So they're shutting it down.
This is the stuff that needs to stop. Yeah. This is the stuff that the corruption in the government is not people claiming their taxes when they're...
we have enough.
That's not the corruption. This is the corruption. Lobbyists.
There's probably enough alternative ideas and concepts that are feasible and ready to go into production that would almost eliminate olive oil. Not olive oil, olive oil.
We still need olive oil. Yeah, I've heard that you can get like all your...
There's hydrogen cars, there's natural gas cars.
Yeah.
You can run a car on French fry grease. Anything that would burn, you can run a car on.
So instead of gasoline, we could take olive oil and throw it in there? That's a high burn, isn't it?
You technically you could.
But it might not be very good. Might not run as well.
Yeah.
What's interesting is I've heard that everything that you need and you require, food, water, these kinds of things in the planet, we have in abundance. And we can get for free. You really could live for free. Just like animals live for free, we could live for free.
I can't remember what it was, but the production in America on food outdoes the need for food by a lot. And actually, America probably produces enough food to feed the whole world at least once over.
And we're just throwing it away?
Or we're trying to find different ways of using it. Biofuels or feeds or whatever. So, but not anymore because we eliminated them programs. We had to cut money from the budget.
Are those the programs that he cut?
Them are some of them, yeah. And that's why the farmers are all up in uproar. Because now they don't have this money coming in that they were banking on.
Should they have that money, though?
Which, honestly, to tie this back, yes, because there is definitely good from it. Okay, they are actually buying it and using it for humanitarian needs.
Yeah, except for the growing of or the raising of cattle and stuff in cruel ways where they're restricted and you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff, that needs to stop.
It makes the meat tender, though.
That's disgusting, Dan.
It's an old Malcolm in the Middle when Reese was working at the processing plant for cows. He's like, yeah, and they were eating steaks one night that he brought home. And Hal's like, these are so tender. He goes, yes, because we take each cow and lock it in a closet in the dark for a month and beats it down and breaks down the muscle tissue, which makes it tender.
That's so awful. I don't even know. This is terrible that we're laughing. It's just funny because the joke is funny, but like it is sad. That's so sad. Like that needs to stop for sure. And plus, then you're eating those stress hormones. You're eating that the hormones that wash over it, that goes into you too.
But I think it's good to have them programs in place because it keeps you as a production and it gives you a surplus. So basically, you're being Egypt in the time of Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
You're filling your grain bins. So if something does tragically happen, you have reserves to pull from. Be like, hey, look, we have some. We don't give as much of the humanitarian stuff around. We feed our own people with that for a while. It also allows for development and progress in other fields. This is why we got biofuels now. This is just all these different things that we can use soybeans and corn for other than just food processing. So there's different things we've made from that. So these government programs, I know a lot of people are like, well, we're giving away billions of dollars to these guys to overproduce. That's wrong. But there is good coming from it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. If you were to read in to see what this was going towards, you can see the good from it and the benefit from it. But they don't want to read that. They just see, well, that farmer got $2 million for this year. And that's not right. I didn't get $2 million for working overtime. It's like, well, but we got $2 million worth of research or humanitarian aid or something out of it.
It's another way to be socialist in a way.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing is, I think to kind of bring this back to the confirmation bias, this is a way to break down, and this is one some of my posts here recently have been about, is we need to use this to break this down. Because these people that were so far up 47's ass, which is a dangerous, dangerous place to be.
In more ways than one.
We're anti-communist, anti-socialist. We ain't want none of that red socialist bullshit here.
I remember that when we were kids. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
trash on the socialists.
So
And communism was the big one. But then socialism became it too.
this is a good point to highlight. So you like socialist programs because these subsidies that you are receiving, these grants you're receiving for your crops from the government is socialism. And if you can break that down and let them see that and start seeing that, oh, wait a minute, most of my life and my family farm has been based off of socialism.
Maybe socialism. And the conclusion is not to just deny that. The conclusion you should come to is, if that's true, socialism wasn't bad for me.
No, it actually benefited. I
benefited from socialism.
It kept my family fed and kept my house in my family. So this was very, very good, as God would say on every day that he created something. So, but it's a means to get into them and say, hey, let's look at this. Let's look at what this really is. You're experiencing this. What you're experiencing is true capitalism. You get what you produce is what you're going to get for. So if you overproduce and flood the market with goods, your goods are going to be extremely cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of getting $10 for a bushel of corn, you've produced so much corn that no one can eat that much. You're now selling it for $1 a bushel. And you just lost $9 per bushel because you overproduced.
Mm-hmm.
That's capitalism.
But then that's where the government swoops in and said, okay, we're going to take that. We'll buy it off of you because we're going to test it. We're going to use it for testing, or we're going to use it for this.
We're going to give you that $10, and whatever you don't sell,
give this product to us. We'll give you some money because we can use it for research.
Yeah. And you'll get your guaranteed money for your stuff.
So that part is the socialist part. The capitalist part is you sell whatever you don't cover over your expenses. Sorry, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're done.
But socialism stepped in and saved the day for them.
Yeah.
And now their socialism is leaving and they're left with just plain capitalism like the rest of us have had to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's harder.
It's like, to put it in our terms, if let's say we wanted to get into a t-shirt business and we bought a machine and computers to make t-shirts, and then we bought, 100, 200 blanks. That's our cost into it. If we don't sell anything, we just lost all that money.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to sell enough of them t-shirts to recoup over our expenses.
Yeah.
That's capitalism.
Yeah.
But if the government came in and said, sell as many as you can, but we're going to guarantee you, $5 a t-shirt.
So whatever you don't sell, we'll reimburse you.
Whatever you have left over.
You give us the product and we will take so it's like you're still selling them.
Yeah. And you got a little safety net in there.
Yeah.
On your business.
Whereas the rest of us who have businesses, we don't have that.
No.
That's why I have to work 2 jobs at the same time.
Yeah.
Because until one is built enough, I have to, and even then it's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
So that's what most of us deal with that farmers have not had to deal with.
No.
And a lot of times the farm is passed down from family member to family. Yeah. So they don't ever know it.
Yeah. So they lost all them programs. They lost all their labor. They're in deep shit.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is it's almost ironic because 100 years ago, we were in a similar situation. And if you started looking before the Great Depression, and this isn't too scary. I don't think we're going to go into an extreme depression again. We'll be in a tough recession. But it was a Republican run. I think it might have been the last time Republicans had control of the presidency, Congress, and Senate.
Were they called Republicans at this time, or was this after the party flip? Okay.
They were Republicans.
Okay.
They started putting tariffs on everything.
On other countries, all the same countries?
This is when they started consolidating businesses. So certain businesses were monopolizing areas of the government.
Wasn't it like 100 years ago, too, you had the Spanish flu? Like we had COVID?
1918.
Okay, and then when did this happen that you're talking about?
This is late 20s.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. So
Oh my God.
you had titans of industry that were protected and had high influence in government. So the steel industry, the railroad tycoons, coal miners, oil barons. These guys were on top of things, high influence. Rockefellers and all of them were in this. Kennedys and all this had high money invested, very rich people that were very influential in political goings on at the time. And then the market crashed.
Wait. Okay. For the market to crash, how did the market crash? Because people were poor now and they couldn't buy things, or what?
I'd have to go back and look. I think there was some things going on where, don't quote me on this, but confidence fell because
Confidence in the government?
People were overextended. It's almost like a housing crash we had in 2008.
Kind of like credit that we're built on.
Yeah. So when the bank started calling in these,
like pay your debt,
these marks that they had out, the people didn't have it.
But why did the banks need to call out for it? Why did they need it?
They overextended their lending.
No one would need to know. They could just print more money. Why didn't they do that?
The banks don't print the money. The Fed.
But the federal, they bailed them out. Fannie Mae and whatever, they got bailed out during that time.
All them things are reactionary programs to what happened at the Great Depression.
But where's the thing that set it off? What catalyst set it off?
I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think the confidence was lost. Banks were calling in notes, and people weren't paying them. So the banks, because what a bank is it's just a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, it is.
Give me your money so I can give it to these other people.
And I'll let you live in this house that I claim to own.
So things were getting a little sketchy. So people were going to the bank to get their money back that they put into a savings account. Bank didn't have it. Bank's like, hold on, let me get it. And they went out to the people they lent and said, we need this money in. I got to start paying out to these people trying to withdraw. And the people that took the loans out were like, we don't got it. So now the bank has no money to give back to the people that put into it. So the people that put money into it didn't have money. So the bank started collapsing on themselves, which started depleting the market. Everything started falling on there, and everything just went because of, and this is, I can't remember for sure. I think there's something in that. I could be completely wrong. I can't remember on that exact.
You probably are, but that's okay.
But it crashed everything. But out of the Great Depression, all these socialistic programs came forth. So you started getting subsidies for farmers. You got Social Security after the Great Depression, which was the first time normal people had a savings plan set up for them.
Mm-hmm.
So every average Joe in the country has Social Security that they could bank on when they retired. I'm going to have this money that's going to be given to me.
Mm-hmm. That's like Social Security right now.
Yeah, government programs to help people work and stuff like that with the Tennessee Valley. So all these socialistic programs started coming out to help boost people up and lift people up, give them something. And what happened was kind of like where we were now before the Depression. The wealth was completely separated. The top 1% had it all. And
so it's just set up perfectly to do it again.
It's almost identical. Great Depression happened. Some of them people stayed wealthy. The Rockefellers and all these people.
Of course, because it's not going to affect them. They can move away from all the hubbub too that we're dealing with.
And a lot of them got better off and reestablished because everything was pennies on the dollar. So they could buy these other companies and business interests while they were extremely cheap. And they built up their own portfolio. So when everything came back, it bolstered them even more. But we passed an 85% tax on wealth. Or I think it was high, maybe 75. But it was a high tax rate. If you make over so many $1 million, your income tax is going to be 75%. There's the eyes I'm looking for.
75%?
It was up there. It might have been 85. I can't remember for sure. But it brought that distribution back. So it started kicking into these socialistic programs, which were feeding the bottom layer of people. So when you got into the 40s and 50s, where the boomers are from, the wealth gap was negligible. And everybody could go, a husband could go out and work one job as a garbage man, as a teacher, as a construction worker, basic blue collar work. Provide a house for a family of 2 or 3 kids, go on vacations every year, have good Christmases, have money to spare at the end of the year off that one income because everything was so close back together again. And then after the 40s and 50s, it started separating out again to where you got today, where it's extreme separation of wealth.
So what you're saying is that this could lead to future generations at some point having a better, less pressured life.
Basically, if we want to learn from history, the solution is tax the fucking rich. Tax the shit out of them.
But when they control everything, how do you do that?
That's the thing.
They're not going to let go of the power.
No, but there comes a point where they have to. And sometimes it comes from a
They
revolt
never do,
or
though,
revolution.
Dan. They don't.
They do. They did back in the 30s through the Depression. And people basically revolted through the election process and elected
different leaders.
Socialist leaders, FDR.
That's why we need Bernie Sanders. He's socialist.
Yeah.
He came out and said that, and that's what people were like, they hated him so much.
So then they were able to legislate. Hey, and at that point,
and then it became so socialist.
And we could be there too, because we're in a time in the economy where people are starting to point fingers, be like, you can't blame this shit all on Biden, and Trump's trying to do that.
Oh, every speech like, you won, move on, dude. Why are you such
he came out with a recent one saying he inherited this economy from Biden. It's like, well, no, up until when you took office, inflation was going down.
Yeah, things were way better. You definitely have upped prices on things.
I mean, the economy was going up and especially at a much greater rate than most other countries in the world.
There wasn't as much division.
So you didn't inherit this bad thing. It wasn't great because there was still inflation.
Yeah.
But that was from your previous administration and mishandling COVID that caused that inflation to happen in the early years of, the first year or so of Biden with the stimulus and all that. Again, when you get these paychecks, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. There's karma involved in this. So when the government prints money, they got to recoup that money again, which is going to make prices go up on everything. But that's something for a different day. But people are going to start pointing the finger here and being like, no, things kind of gone to shit since you took over. And they've gone really shitty here. And that's what happened in the 30s. You Republicans took over everything. You gave all your money to your rich buddies. You let them kind of run things, and it fucked us all in the end. And now we're going through the Dust Bowl and all this stuff. So we're not getting you out, and we're going to put in these other people and see what they can do. And then they slowly built it back up. Luckily, we had a war at the end of the 30s. Because a war can boost the economy.
Oh, God. That sounds terrible, Dan. Don't say that.
I had an old economics teacher told me that. Said the best thing for an economy that's in slide is a war.
Well, that's what he's trying to do, though, maybe, to set it up so that he can do that. I don't know.
He could be.
With Russia?
Well, not against Russia.
No, with Russia.
Yeah. But, so anyways, that's all we have for you tonight, folks. We've gone from confirmation bias to political rants.
Okay, that's not, you can't end on that. That's just sad.
What? There's hope.
I feel sad. There is hope. I'm always trying to look for the hope in the middle of this, but there are times that I get sucked into.
The hope is that people wake up and realize what's happening.
That can be part of the hope, but we also need hope that we're going to, I don't know if we're all going to make it through it, but you kind of need that hope. You want to hope that your children you want to have a better world for your children.
There have been protections put in place so we don't go through another Great Depression economically. So you have that in your back pocket. The thing is if you can get people to wake up and realize, and I think this is where the hope is, and it's going to start showing here real soon. When the farmers realized that I'm not as capitalist as I thought, and I've been benefiting and living off of socialistic policies for a long time. And
when they realize.
if you look at the voting maps in the country, the rural areas are red and the urban areas are blue.
It's always that way.
Right?
But the the rural areas carry so much weight in the electoral vote somehow.
You're starting to see the red areas realize socialism is good.
I hope so.
Some of the posts are like, hey, man, this is affecting it. And they got to come to this conclusion of these socialistic programs have been good for us. They've kept us afloat. We need to start looking at this more from that perspective.
Yeah. We're going to continue to use capitalism because I don't think you can get outside of it yet. Nobody's developed a system that...
It's not getting away from capitalism.
No, late-stage capitalism is not good. But capitalism itself is one type of government that can work, but it also has to be checked.
If you look at...
with socialism.
Like the Nordic states, Norway and Finland and all them, they are capitalistic economies with high socialistic programs.
Mm-hmm.
And people think that they're getting taxed out their nose, and they really aren't. Some of them are paying 33% tax, which is not much more than what we pay currently here in America.
Well, and also we're paying for insurance. Yeah, they don't pay for that. They don't have that premium.
They get free health care. And there's stuff in their health care that's, if you are pregnant or a child, you pay absolutely nothing during that time. You know, if everyone else, you know, an adult male or an adult unpregnant woman, you're going to pay some fees here and there for different things, but pregnant and all that, nothing. You know, you get housing subsidies, you get all this other stuff built in. That seems glorious and wonderful. And you're only paying 8% more in taxes than what we are.
Yeah. Well, and people
gives you
have
a lot of little extra chingy change in there. So if people can start waking up and seeing this, and I think that could be part of it, if we can start bringing the history of what happened in the 20s and 30s and start showing that to people, hey, this is how we came out of this. Socialistic programs that you were benefiting up until the Texas, what do they call it? Someone called it the Tesla chainsaw massacre. so someone call it that today. So you can control that guy. And I think you're seeing some of this movement happen because he is suffering greatly in his own personal business endeavors. Teslas are, even if every red hat bought Teslas in here, he's still going to suffer because they're down 80% in Germany, 70% in Britain. All over the world, he's losing sales on Teslas and stuff like that. SpaceX is starting.
Oh, and I'm sure he's getting the pressure from his board. Like, hey, you can't anymore. You cannot do this. Like, you have to let go of this company because it's being tanked because of you.
And SpaceX and Starlink are starting to lose a lot of support because of what he's saying and doing.
Yeah. I think he's gone. I think the ketamine has made him go mad a little bit. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So there's some pushback. You're seeing some signs of this push and people waking up and realizing what they're getting. So I think before we go into a huge economic downfall or a civil war of sorts, a revolution, it's going to happen more peaceably because people are starting to wake up and be like, no, this isn't right. What you're doing is wrong because you're going after your base. You're going after farmers. You're cutting veteran benefits. You know, it's all this stuff that they tout and built their whole thing on. And they're not, the red hats aren't happy right now.
No.
They're getting vocal. And it's not, and they're trying to, and all the congressmen and everything are blaming it on left-wing implants going to these town hall meetings and everything. It's like, no, these are your folks. Mm-hmm. They don't like what you're doing. They're not for it.
Well, they keep using the excuse that Democrats are like filtering in and not thinking it's their people.
Yeah.
But also I think I think with Musk, there's a drug problem that is going overlooked, and he's using it because he's not done shadow work. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't do shadow work and you just take drugs, it's going to create a problem. Yeah. You have to do shadow work. And he's not doing that. He's just taking a drug to feel better. He's using it for his mental health is what I'm saying. And instead of actually doing any difficult work. And so basically we have someone who has done no inner work and is high, rummaging around in all of the most secret stuff that our government has.
I saw a quote that's been attributed to him. Empathy is the greatest human weakness.
Did he say that?
It's been going around.
I don't know if he really said that.
So.
Oh, God. I know that there's some Christian pastors that are saying empathy is a sin.
Yeah.
All the things Jesus said. Like,
yeah,
love one another, love your enemies. That's empathy.
Yeah.
Have compassion on those who are, blessed are the poor. They shall inherit the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
Or they shall inherit the earth. Maybe I don't remember, but yeah, like, wow. Okay.
So we got that going for us, which is nice. But I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like what we predicted once we found out the results. It's going to be a tough couple years, but more people are going to end up coming to their senses. And it's not that you have to get the ultra MAGA people to come to their senses.
No, they're probably, a lot of those people are very,
they're lost.
They might not come out of it, yeah. Especially if they're over a certain age. I've found that like 80, 75.
It could be any age. There's some people that are so far.
Oh, there are. But a lot of times those older people, they don't even.
I mean,
you could try, but there are some older people that actually don't think that way. But I don't know if you can come out of it if you've been in it for so long.
They're expiring from it. But it's the people that are more in the center.
Yeah.
That got duped that are going to be more vocal.
Yeah.
About this
because they're not willing to admit they have confirmation bias.
Yeah.
They're willing to have their beliefs challenged.
Yeah.
If there's convincing evidence to the contrary.
So I think there's light at the tunnel. It's just going to be a rough couple of years getting through it. And it's a point where people just have to be kicked in the face to be like, okay, yep, I made a mistake. And now I got to correct it.
Mm-hmm.
And then correct it.
Yeah.
Take the actions to correct it. So we'll get there. I mean, he's not making it difficult.
And the thing is, during this time, you don't have to be you don't have to be miserable.
No.
The people who made it through the Great Depression are the ones that saw a better day.
Yeah.
And they stayed hopeful and they planned and they prepped. So when you see things that you can stock up on them.
Mm-hmm.
Garden, find more affordable ways to entertain yourself. Maybe you can't do extravagant vacations during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have to get out of debt, get some surplus income, just buckle down and be smart. And I think you will be better off when this is over.
Yeah.
If you do those things, you'll also, not only will you, make it through and find community, You might have more friends at the end of this that really love you and care for you, that you love and care for. You might have a better understanding of finances and how that works. And you may be in a healthier position in that area. And you might learn how to cook and garden, and you might learn all sorts of things. I know I've been gardening or starting the seeds and stuff and researching all this stuff. And I've learned so much about gardening that I did not know. That is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I think if nothing else, I'll have a better education.
Yep. So there's positives. They're coming. We just got to get through the tough part.
Yeah. Look for the positives, though.
Yeah. So it's there. So with that being said, dannycan.com. Go there, get everything you need, Drop Stones wise. Can's websites for hypnotherapy and blogs and all that good stuff that's on there. And as always, remember, go up and give us 5 stars. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, smash that like button, crush that subscribe button, and keep on following. And as always,
Listen.
remember,
Oh,
listen to us.
because we have lots of opinions to share.
Yes, we do. Bye.
Bye.